Hey guys, welcome to part 3. We're going to be cutting our subjects out of our backgrounds now, and this part's going to take a while. This sort of thing can take a little bit of time, but it's going to be well worth it. So let's go ahead and make our biker group back open. You'll notice we have one image of our man and a few different images of our woman. And the reason is some of these are, we're not cutting all these out of the background, by the way. Some of these are just for extra details, and we wound up moving a light around during the set. So basically we photographed the bikers on the set. This light was the same place, the softbox and everything like that. But we have another light with a little bit of a warming gel, and we just kind of like moved this around during the image. And you can see here it's lighting up the back of her hair. Here it's lighting up the bike tire there, and there it's kind of like lighting up this detail back there. So the reason why we do this is basically like if this were a still image and was not composited, you could just get a lot of detail. Like you can see here, you don't see a lot of detail right there in the back of the bike, and here you do. So oftentimes on photo shoots, we'll just take a spotlight like this, move it around a bunch of times during the photo, especially if things are about in the same place, and then you can pick up details you want. You don't have to like dodge and burn or try to do anything like that. You just actually use the lighting from the scene to do it. So that's why we're going to bring those details in. Now, we're going to start off by just cutting out our main subject. So this is our subject here that we actually want to, we're going to be cutting out her, and then we're going to be cutting out our guy too. So one thing I'd like to do sometimes is color code my, I like to color code my groups. So I'm going to shift click on this. I'm going to hit Command G. That's going to make a group in there. And I can right click and I'm going to make this a blue group. Okay, and the reason is she's got blue. Now I'm going to click on him, Command G, and I'm going to right click on this and make that a red group. Okay, so I know really easily now that like, oh, here's my blue girl. Alright, and we'll just call this woman, and we'll call this man. There we go. So we have the red guy and the blue girl, and there, it just kind of makes it easy sometimes. Color coding is just for fun or whatever, but sometimes you can kind of figure these things out that make it easier on yourself. Okay, so we're just going to group those as well, and we'll just call this extras. I don't normally name my layers, but I will name my groups if I feel that I need to. So let's just make the extras invisible, and now we're going to cut her out of the background. So we can just make the background invisible while we cut her out. Okay, shooting someone on seamless like we've done here is generally the easiest way to cut people out. They don't have all kinds of crazy detail behind them and things like that. It's usually not that hard to cut someone out. So what we're going to do is start off with the easiest way, and then we're going to move continuously harder as needed. Okay, so what we're going to do, the easiest way, especially if you are on a blank backdrop, is to use something like the magic wand tool. Okay, now the higher you bring your tolerance, the more it's going to get selected. You can choose a 3x3 average, which will just average 3x3 pixels of wherever you click, and you can see it's going to select out. So if I click here, it's going to select that area out, just like that. Looks pretty good. If you want to hold down the Shift key and click there, you can select out more areas. Okay, let's just try bringing our tolerance a little bit higher and hit deselect. There we go. Click here, it's going to select out all that area. So this is a tolerance of 5. We've got it sampling all layers, and it is sampling here on our layer. Now the tolerance of 5 is not going to work everywhere, but for here it seems to be working pretty well. So I'm just holding Shift and clicking. We're going to hold Shift and click there as well. Okay, we can see this is actually someone was behind the bike holding it up. So that's what that is. It's kind of funny. That's someone's head. Shift click there, select that area out. Shift click that, and we'll just zoom in and get that selected out as well. Okay, that's backdrop there. Backdrop, backdrop, backdrop. So this is pretty easy. I mean, it's you're just holding Shift and clicking a bunch of times. It really doesn't get much easier than this. If you're hoping for much easier than this, I'm sorry. It doesn't get much easier than this. Shift click all those places. There we go. And we'll see what we've got going on here. Whoops, I hit the wrong button. Zoom in. I don't know what that is, but some of these things we're going to kind of like have to fill in by hand because it's not going to work well everywhere. Let's zoom in here to the middle of the bike. Shift click these places as well. There we are. Okay, so let's go ahead and start our layer mask off like that. That'll be a good start to the layer mask. So we're going to just click on our layer mask button now, and it's going to mask out everywhere that we clicked. Pretty cool. Now, it's the opposite of what we want. So just click on your layer mask here and hit Command I, and that's going to give you the opposite of what you had. Let's just go ahead and turn our backdrop on so I can see what it's going to look like through there. Okay, now the next thing we'd like to do is select out this area here. So again, here on my layer, I'm going to click there, and I'm going to hold down Shift click some of these other layers here. There we go. Let's get a little closer to her skin and her hair, and just kind of come around there as well. And I'm still holding Shift and just kind of traveling right around this image. Okay, there we go. That's looking pretty good as well. Let's just zoom out here. Let's click on our layer mask, and I'm going to hit Shift Delete, and we're going to fill this with black. Right? That's going to make it invisible. So we're already on our way to cutting out our subject here. Doesn't look great, but it's getting there. Okay. There we go. Let's see about cutting this area out. So we're going to cut out her boot, and I'm not concerned with this because it's not actually touching our subject. So we're going to. There we go. You can see that that selected too much, so I had to hit Command Z to undo that amount of selection. So what we're doing is we're doing kind of like the grunt work here. We're doing the majority of the work with the magic wand tool, but we know this is probably not going to work for everything, right? Okay, let's click there, and I'm going to hit Command Delete, which fills with my background color here. There we go. We're doing most of the grunt work here with the magic wand tool, but I don't expect to fully be able to get this done with just one magic wand tool. That would be I don't know, that just doesn't really happen. Usually you're going to have to use a few tools, and then Command Delete to fill those in. Alright, so how we're doing so far? Well, we're doing okay. Let's go ahead and make our background invisible so we can see what we've got cut out. Okay, some quick tips. If you got stuff like this on the outsides, just grab your marquee tool and fill that with your background color. Again, Command Delete will fill with your background color. In this case, my background color is black. So on a layer mask, it's going to fill that with black, making it invisible. So I don't have to magic wand out all this stuff. I can just select it out, hit Command Delete, and good to go. Alright, same here with all this stuff. I'm not going to go in here and grab a paintbrush or a magic wand tool or anything like that, because it's pretty easy. I know I don't want any of that. Alright, here is our lovely intern Kelsey. She's doing great, but we don't need her either. Alright, there we are, and we're just going to select out this area, fill that with black as well. Alright, pretty cool. So we're on our way. I mean, looking quite a bit better than we were anyway. Let's just zoom in here and see what else we can get. Maybe we can hit W for the magic wand tool again, and I can select out some of this stuff here. Alright, selecting that out. Command Delete to fill that with black as well. And you're going to get some like artifacts and things like this that, you know, sometimes don't look very good. Just brush tool these out. It's not a big deal because you're most likely going to have to refine this edge anyway, okay? So, you know, get it pretty close to begin with, and then if you need to use a pen tool or other types of refining edges, that's totally cool. I'll show you guys how to do that in a minute. Okay, let's get this motorcycle cut out here, the wheel, and I'm having trouble seeing it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab an adjustment layer, and I'm going to go to curves, and I'm just going to bring this up. There we go. I'm not going to leave this on, but it helps me to at least see what I'm doing. So I'm thankful for that. Okay, now the quick way would just be to grab a marquee tool, hit Shift M to go to an elliptical marquee. Okay, and I'm going to right click in here and go to transform selection. So it just needs to be rotated around because this tire is rotated, right? And let's shrink it back in. It's kind of, I just want to match what's going on here. From my selection to the tire. Alright, and we're getting closer. Doesn't have to be perfect, by the way. Okay, that's pretty close. I'm going to hit enter. So that's basically this area of the tire, right? That's the hard part. I'm going to go to select and down to inverse. Okay, and then we're just going to grab our brush tool and paint with black right over here. And that's just going to make sure all that goes away as well. And we have a decent selection. So you can use whatever tool you want to do this sort of thing. That's just a pretty quick way to do it. Alright. Now, as a figure of choice, just because I want to, I'm actually going to wind up getting rid of the head of this motorcycle. This little lamp here. I think the bike just looks a little cooler without it, and there really aren't that many rules when you're doing this sort of thing. So I'm going to get rid of that. So we're going to use a polygonal lasso tool. I'm going to click here, follow this bar on up there. Okay, and we'll just click a couple times. Get rid of Kelsey's thumb. Click up there. This is all going to be kind of dark in just a little bit anyway, so details aren't that important, but I'll show you how to like fake details. Alright, and we'll get some nubs going on here on our tire. Bonk, and then Command Delete. Oops, sorry. I changed my foreground and background colors. Now I'm going to shift click on this, and we're going to see if I can just get my let's use our regular lasso tool. I'm going to see if I can just get these little nubs here. Bonk, like that. Okay, and I'm just trying to select out these little nubs because it's going to make it look more like, you know, it's not just, it's going to make the job that it was cut out look a lot better. Okay, so we're going to select around there, shift click on that, which is going to make our layer mask visible again, and then I'm just going to fill that with black too. So it's just going to be like, you know, a little bit of nubs and stuff like that. You could even just do something like this if you wanted, because these are, you know, these tires are not perfect, especially in the days of the Outlaws. Finding perfectly round tires is very difficult these days. Alright, there we go. We'll hit delete on that as well. Cool. So that looks pretty good. Let's zoom in and select this area out. You can use any release selection tool that you want to. If you want to use the pen tool, be my guest. You're more than welcome to use it. A lot of this stuff, some of it matters how precise it is. Like a pen tool is great when you need like a long, like sweeping arch that has to be very precise, right? But something like this where it's just like a kind of like a rusty or coated pipe or a tube or something like that, that really doesn't have to be like super clean. If you were cutting out like a car, I would never use the lasso tool by hand, by the way. I would always use the pen tool. But something like this, you're probably going to be fine using a lasso tool. Alright, so we're just selecting that out and hitting Command Delete. If you hold down Shift with your lasso tool, if you hold down the Alt or the Option key, your regular lasso tool will turn into a polygonal lasso tool, and then you can just select straight areas like I did, and when you let go of Alt or Option, it will become the regular lasso tool again, which is pretty cool to know. Alright, and a lot of this detail is going to get like totally lost and dark and all that stuff like that, so I'm not spending the most time in the world on this sort of stuff. Let's just connect that back in. Alright, and this up here, you know, it's like, okay. The undercarriage of a motorcycle, which is kind of hard to identify anyway, even if you know what you're looking at. Alright, this other side, let's go ahead and grab a marquee tool here. Okay, Shift Command I, and let's just grab a paintbrush and paint that black over there. There we go, so we got a nice round edge there. That is someone's hand, because they were holding the back of the bike, right? So we're going to make sure we make a selection right around there. Shift Command I, and then we're going to paint away those fingers and that hand. Cool, and we'll just paint that back. Just like that, nice and easy. Alright, and we'll just paint right up there around that toe. Okay, so we're looking pretty good. We don't have, you know, there's still a lot of ways to go, but we're going to see what we can do now on the inside of these tires. Okay, the fun thing is we get to do this twice. We got to do the guy as well. Let's go to our magic wand tool. Maybe we'll bring down our tolerance just a little bit, and maybe we'll bring that back up. A tolerance of 8. I'm a very tolerant Photoshopper. I set my tolerance to 8. So you, like, hopefully the magic wand tool is gonna work for a lot of this. Just because if it doesn't, it just takes forever. You know, like, you got other things to do in your life besides mask out spokes from a motorcycle, right? Like, I hope so anyway. If not, then, well, come to Chicago. There's a lot to do here. All right, let's just double click a couple times here, and not double click, just regular click. I'm holding down the shift key, by the way. That's just going to make sure we keep on selecting out. I'm going to hit Command Delete on my, Command Delete. Let's just fill that in. Let's see what that looks like on the backdrop. Decent. I mean, the color and everything like that is totally off, but the selection's not that bad. If you find your selection needing to get better, this would be a good use of the polygonal lasso tool, and I'll show you that in just a minute. Alright, there we go. I get questions like this a decent bit. You know, people ask like, oh, isn't the magic wand tool for beginners and stuff like that? And my answer is always no. Like, there's no tool that's for beginners or for advanced people. Like, that doesn't make any sense to me. Some tools are used more often by beginners because it's the only tools they know, but that doesn't mean that that tool might not be the perfect job for the person who's a professional as well. So the magic wand tool falls under that category. A lot of people use the magic wand tool where honestly they should be using a different tool, but if magic wand tool is the best tool for the job, then that is the one you should use, whether you're an amateur or professional. And so that's the way I see it, but I'm just one person, so it doesn't really matter that much. Let's just fill those with black as well. Alright, there we go. And we still got more spokes and things like that up here. This won't be as easy in Magic Wand because it's more similar to the color of the actual motorcycle. That's why this was hard, because it's including the rim there. Okay, so what do we do in the case when that happens? Well, you can use your lasso tool. Let's go to our polygonal lasso tool, and it's tough. If you want the curvature of the bike, I'll show you how to get that. Alright, so we're just going to go up here, click there, and then fill that with black. This, by the way, if you don't want to use the magic wand tool, this is a better way of doing this. Okay? Because you're going to get a lot more precise results. But it just is going to take way longer. And then to get this back, that round area there, I would use the marquee tool. Okay? Try to match that with the curvature of the actual interior of the wheel. Hit Shift Command I to invert that selection, and then paint white right there. Okay? And then you're going to get back a very nice clean rim here as well. Okay? So you can use use a few different tools for the job. It's usually not just one tool that's gonna get you there. Or you can use the pen tool if you'd like to do that. So let's just go ahead and use our lasso tool. Alright. I'm trying to figure out the fastest way to do this, because there probably just is not a really fast way to do this. I mean, we just got to cut out from every one of the spokes, so I'll just start doing it, because there really isn't much of a fast way to do it. If you want to cheat when you have a curvature like this, you can totally do that. Just click a couple times. Even with a polygonal lasso tool, you can make what looks like a curve by clicking a few times. And if you zoom out to here, like, no one's gonna see that. So that's a good little cheat technique. That seems to be working pretty well, so we'll just continue cheating. And there we go. Cars, for the record, are much easier to cut out of their background than motorcycles. You don't have to deal with this. I don't even know what this is right there. Brake caliper or something? Anyway. Alright. I wish there was a faster way of doing this, guys. I do, for you and for me. But there's not. Getting it started with Magic Wand tool is about as good as we're going to get as far as making this go quickly here. I don't even know what all this other stuff is in here. I don't know if it's part of Kelsey, who's standing behind the motorcycle at this point, or if it's part of the motorcycle itself. But if it's not, like, very obviously out of place, most of the time it'll be just fine. This area is going to be a pretty dark part of the photo anyway, and your eyes are not going to be on it. There we go. Alright, cool. That looks like motorcycle stuff there. That's good. Alright, now let's take care of the back. Now the back might be, well, I don't know, it might be easier, it might be harder. Remember, I have this curves adjustment layer on, which is making it look like that, bringing out all these artifacts and everything like that. So just remember, that's, you know, that's there. Alright, let's bring our Magic Wand tool, let's bring our tolerance down a little bit. Down a little bit more, to about 2. And I'm just going to hold down Shift and click a few times in here, just to get rid of some of this black. Now keep in mind, you can put black right behind over this if you want to. Let's just hit Command Delete, and it's going to look decent, but just getting rid of it here gives us a few more options. Okay, let's see. We'll go back to the lasso tool. I'm going to make that curve, hold Alter Option, click on those points, and then fill that with black. Make that curve, click Alt, all right. Since you guys are probably not learning anything new right now, you're just watching me do this, what I'll probably do is I'll finish up this girl biker, and then I'll just do the exact same thing with the guy biker. That's gonna save, you know, about an hour of your life. So I think that, you know, hopefully you guys understand why I would do that. Not to take any education away from you, but it's literally the exact same thing going over the guy biker. It's important to learn how to do it once, but just watching me do it twice, I don't think it's going to really help you guys. You can just rewind this one and watch this one twice if you really want to. Alright, and you can see that this technique is getting me a better result than using the magic wand tool. Like, because man, it doesn't know where the spokes start and stop, it's just kind of thinking it does. So you get something pretty gnarly like that. So if you just want something a little bit cleaner, I would do something like this. And the cleanest option for sure would be to use the pen tool. Alright. There we go. So you can see I'm starting off with my regular lasso tool, then holding down Alt or Option when I need it to be straight, and then just doing this when I'm ready for it to be not straight. It's pretty cool actually. Alright, there we go. And you can just let go of Alt when you're ready to close your selection. You kind of got to start it though, and then hit Alt, and then it'll change. You can't start off by holding Alt when you're doing this method, because then it'll think that's the same keyboard shortcut as subtract this from selection. So you have to start off your selection and then hit Alt. Alright, we're pretty good. I'll fix this down here using the same technique up here, and I'll do that in a minute while I do the other guy as well, so you don't have to see that. Okay, now we're going to shift click on this layer mask, and I'm going to see about if I can refine it, because there are still some areas that don't look that great, like, you know, around her hair and things like that, right? So we're going to shift click there, and I'm going to try to do a couple things. On a new layer, I'm going to go to select, and we're going to go down to color range, and I'm just going to see if I can select out her hair. Alright, yeah, that's not working that well. Let's just shift click on there as well. Let's turn our background visible. I'm going to wait on her hair and things like that. I'm going to show you guys how to refine that edge a little bit better, because depending on how we refine the edge of the background will depend on the background itself. I know that doesn't make much sense right now, but basically my goal is to make sure that the background and my subject blend in well, and that's really hard to do if you don't have them in place and everything like that. Like, it might look horrible, that might look horrible now, but it might not actually look that bad when we get things together. I know that's hard to explain, but that's how it works. But if you do want to clean things up like this just a little bit more, which I'm never opposed to doing, the pen tool is a great way to do that. So P for the pen tool. If you want to know more about the pen tool, just search, go to any episode. There's a tag button right above every episode on Phlearn.com, and you can just click on the pen tool tag, and there are episodes on how to use the pen tool. It's one of those tools that's really great. It just takes a little bit of time to explain, so instead of explaining it every pro tutorial, we just make videos, and then you guys can just watch those. Nice and easy. Alright, and we're just going to pen tool right around this area. So in almost every case, the pen tool is really the better tool for the job. Whenever you're cutting someone out, it's just going to be more precise, it's going to be smoother and more accurate and things like that. Not always the best when you're dealing with things like hair, but for, you know, for a person's arm or whatever, it's really great. It just takes a little bit of time. So let's shift click on there. I'm going to right click in here and say make selection. We'll feather that by about 3 pixels, 0.3. And then I'm going to hit Shift Command I to invert that selection, and then we're just going to paint in here. So I want that to be really nice and clean. Alright, and then we're going to hit Shift Command I again, and I'm going to paint now with black, and that's going to paint outside of the selection. So here's the before, and well, I can't do the after because there we go. I just needed to do it again. I hit undo too many times. I couldn't get back to the after. Alright, but you can see it's just compare the right side to the left side. It's much cleaner, it's much smoother. We're going to do one more thing though, just to make sure it's all smoothed out. I'm going to click on this layer mask. We're going to go to select and then down to refine mask. And then I'm going to just bring up my feathering just a little bit, and we're going to bring up our contrast a little bit as well. And this should help the edge smooth out even more. So even if I don't go pen tool the entire edge of this, of the entire thing, this is just going to help us out just a bit more. We can see, for the most part, it does pretty well. Maybe we can bring this down just a little bit. Yeah, there we go. And we'll hit OK. So there's the before and the after with that. It's not going to work wonders everywhere, but for the most part, it's going to get rid of these little jaggy edges that don't really look that good. All right, so that's what we're doing with our subject here. Let's just delete that layer, and we just use this curve adjustment layer to make it visible. So she's pretty well cut out of her background. I mean, you can see that if I do decide to move her around, things like that, we're obviously not ready to put her in place right now. It's hard to know whether she should go up there or down here, but I'm going to show you guys a really great way to know. But she is cut out of her background decently well. So I'm going to take a quick break. I'm just going to use the exact same principles. I'm going to just clean like this area down here that we talked about, and then I'm going to go ahead and cut this guy out from his background using the exact same thing. Magic wand tool, whatever I can. Probably the lasso tool here in the spokes, and then refine edge on that. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, and then you'll join me with both of these guys completely cut out of their background. So thanks guys, and we'll catch you soon.